Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive regulatory storm brewing on the horizon. We're going to meticulously unpack the looming collapse of the 2027 J-Star grid connection mandate, which is Japan's incoming cybersecurity standard. Now, we aren't just speculating here. We are doing a full autopsy on this policy using the government's own verbatim admissions, because as you'll see, this mandate seems to be structurally failing before it even takes effect.
So how do you actually secure a national power grid? I mean, it's a monumental question, right? And it really sets the stakes for our deep dive today. We're looking at a bureaucratic mandate that claims to protect our critical infrastructure. But when we actually dig into the primary source documents, well, we find a system full of gaping holes. Let's see what the data actually tells us.
Here is our quick roadmap. 1. The 2027 grid mandate. 2. Admission of the label. 3. The Great Design Mismatch. 4. Invisible exceptions. 5. The operational nightmare. And 6. Confirming nothing. Let's jump right in.
Section 1, the 2027 grid mandate. Okay, so starting in 2027, if you want to establish a grid connection for solar and battery systems, you will legally be required to have a JS-Star Level 1 product label. The entire foundation of this incoming policy rests on one absolutely massive assumption, that verifying a product has this specific label is the same thing as ensuring a secure, safely installed grid connection. But does it actually do that? Let's look at Section 2, Admission of the Label. Now, this quote, it is literally a smoking gun. In their official third response, the Information Technology Promotion Agency, or the IPA, the actual folks running this label, stated verbatim, compliance label obtained does not mean safely installed and operated. Think about that for a second. It undeniably proves that the label says absolutely nothing about the safety of the actual physical installation. The logical pillar instantly collapses. And it gets worse. The IPA also confirmed what researchers are calling the 3 no's. First, they have no official documents supporting the use of this label for legal grid requirements. Second, there's no document stating the label replaces actual network installation security measures. And third, there is no public distinction between products that earn the label normally and those that got an exception. Basically, energy agencies repurpose this label into a mandatory grid rule completely without the involvement, endorsement, or even the basic design alignment of the label's own creators. Which brings us to Section 3, the Great Design Mismatch. Check out this structural clash because it's wild. The IPA's label design philosophy assumes devices are going to be directly exposed to the internet, boundary-free. Their label ensures basic hygiene in that completely open scenario. But then you look at the Energy Agency's regulations on RAY, and those are entirely premised on boundary defenses, like gateways. The foundational premises of these two systems aren't just different, they are exact opposites. Because these threat models clash so fundamentally, relying on this product label to enforce grid installation safety creates a massive definitional mismatch. The mandate is using a voluntary product label, one designed around market fairness and direct internet exposure, as a mandatory checkpoint for complex, boundary-protected power grids. It's exactly like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Moving on to Section 4, Invisible Exceptions and Black Boxes. According to the IPA's own supplementary guidance, exceptions for non-IP communication equipment are granted based on whether competing products exist. The text explicitly calls this an exceptional measure to prevent business disadvantages. Just pause and really digest that. Whether a device is allowed onto the critical power grid depends on market competition. That is a purely business-driven variable completely unrelated to actual grid security. Crucially, this whole exception process is a total black box. These exceptions are determined by non-public criteria. If a product gets one, that exception status is completely hidden on public lists. The IPA has even stated they won't publish exception statistics. And perhaps most shockingly, the criteria mandates non-public supply chain inquiries to METI, the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, before a label is even issued. These hidden non-security checks dictate who gets on the grid, and they remain entirely invisible to both the grid operators and the public. That leads us right into Section 5, the operational nightmare. See what happens when grid operators try to actually enforce this in 2027. Well, the very first step of the practical review process is structurally broken. The system explicitly allows the JC-Star identification model number on the approved list to be different from the actual commercial product model number printed on the box. This mismatch creates an agonizing step-by-step disaster for grid operators. Imagine this. Step 1, they search for the model number. Step 2, they realize the numbers don't match. Step 3, to figure out if the product is actually compliant, they are forced to manually download and open an attached configuration diagram PDF. Step 4, they have to manually eye-match the component names in that PDF against the real-world equipment. The system literally assumes reviewers are going to perform this highly error-prone manual PDF check just to verify basic compliance. It's a nightmare.
And finally, Section 6, a review confirming nothing. When you stack all of these logical, design, transparency, and operational failures together, the entire 2027 mandate just flattens completely. Does the review confirm the safety of the installation? No. The IPA stated verbatim it does not. Does it confirm legal substitution? No. Is there exception transparency? No. Does it even confirm a basic model number match? No way. You have to do a manual PDF check. Operators are forced into this administrative mess that guarantees absolutely nothing about operational grid security. Here is the bottom line. The facts objectively show that reviewers are going to be forced to open and read configuration diagram PDFs anyway, just to figure out the model numbers. If the operational cost is already going to be that high, the mandate could and definitely should be redesigned to confirm information directly tied to actual power grid safety, rather than just checking for a label that admits it doesn't even guarantee safe installation. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder as that 2027 deadline fast approaches. If this massive mandatory bureaucratic exercise confirms nothing about actual grid installation safety, if it relies on invisible business exceptions, and if it forces operators into an administrative nightmare, what is it actually protecting? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and we'll see you next time.